Welcome back to Filmography Fridays. I am the JJ.
Mike, Lou, and
on the island.
Mike, Lou, and
on the island. We're doing a different thing today. We're doing a top 5 instead of an actual flat-out Filmography Friday or a Still in Cinema Saturday. We are doing the top 5 Studio Ghibli movies. I was gonna say Miyazaki, but then I realized because of number 3 we can't.
Yeah.
So we're doing top 5 Ghibli movies, and as I mentioned it already, funny enough, only one of them is not Miyazaki. Praise our Lord Miyazaki. Just to address it, this is a bootleg. I'm convinced it's a bootleg, I should say. I'm not entirely sure, because it is Japanese.
We spent hours looking into that, and
yeah.
It's just like, I came away with, it doesn't have the right box art, it doesn't have the right disc art, it's probably bootleg.
Before we start the actual list, I feel like we need to address a couple of things to help you understand Miyazaki movies and why people love them. I can explain why people love Miyazaki movies in 3 words: childlike wonder, magic, and ma.
Also weirdness.
I feel like that would fit in like I feel like that would fit in like childlike wonder.
Yeah.
You're seeing like fucking fish people and you're like, what the fuck? This is beautiful. To better understand Miyazaki, I have to go into Ma a little bit more. We have to unpack that. Ma, this is the best way. Miyazaki himself used this as an example. You see what I'm doing here? All that noise, the claps, that's
the events.
That's the actions, right? The actual stuff that moves the plot forward.
And then that in between is the lull.
It's the breathing room. It's so that the world can feel alive. It's so that you feel like you're in an actual place where things are happening. Again, Miyazaki, action, non-action. He understands that for every action you do, you need a wind down. There's a audience needs to digest, and some of the most iconic Miyazaki movie shots, Totoro, Chihiro from Spirited Away going on the train with no face, all of those are Ma. So now that you understand Ma a little bit, I want to go into the magic section. In some cases, it's literally magic, Kiki. In some cases...
No, that applies to, like, almost all of them. Literally magic, Kiki. Literally magic, Mononoke.
Yeah, touche. Chihiro, you can't really say witches. Yeah, you're right.
Spirits.
They really are. Yeah, they really are. In almost every movie. Arguably the only one that I can think of that made our list would be Grave of the Fireflies. That's a major element. You always feel this in the world, there's this electricity, this feeling of, I feel like I'm in a new place. If you've ever traveled and stepped out and looked and you're like, holy shit, this is new to me, this is magical. That feeling as well. That kind of leads me into childlike wonder. And then we lead into Childlike Wonder, which I think is self-explanatory. All of his movies, mainly due to the fact that a lot of his movies have child characters as protagonists, or at least young characters trying to fight into adulthood. Or earn their way. But, yeah, so now that we have that settled, let's actually get into our list. This man is without a doubt, Miyazaki that is, since we do have technically 2 directors in our top 5. Miyazaki, so 4 out of 5 of them, 100% the best animator in my opinion that has ever lived. Not like animator himself, but like director of animation.
Yeah, director. Well, I was gonna say, an animation team is like hundreds of people.
All of you, fuck your 4 hours of sleep.
We can do this without you.
I actually really appreciate the fact that he always deals with, or mainly deals with, female protagonists, just because, like, not that it needs to be that way. I'd actually appreciate, hence Mononoke being one of my tops.
He probably has like 14 daughters and just writes what he views them all as.
But that's the thing, is he kind of writes, it feels real. It feels like real women, or girls in this case. Yeah, and it doesn't feel like caricatures like a lot of other people write.
That definitely applies to Kiki.
One of the entire points of Spirited Away, in my opinion, is Chihiro literally trying to get along without her parents, which is a parallel of growing up by herself. Yeah. Also, and then when she goes in, she's a brat. When she comes out, she's an adult.
I don't think it's more of the brat though. It's like she's a willing
fairly a brat.
She's willing to get up and work just to save her parents.
No. I'm referring more to like, we moved. I don't have any friends anymore. This place sucks, which is completely understandable though. So yeah, now we're gonna hop into our top 5 list. I don't know why this whole video is gonna be me doing this with my hands apparently, because I've done this like 5 times already.
Because you're Italian. Let's be real.
Okay, all right. There's Italian, and then there's just doing the exact same motion 15 times, and I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah, it's called New York Italian.
Yeah, see, then I'd have a cannoli in my hand. But anyway.
And you'd have like a fucking an apron from a pizzeria.
Princess Materazzo over here. So let's go to our number 5, and our number 5 for this one is going to be Kikis Delivery Service. This one I watched when I was a kid first. Like, this is one of the first ones I watched.
I saw it for the first time a few years ago.
Really interesting. I think that might, I feel like people have a personal attachment to this one more because it was more of a childlike thing for them, too.
It's definitely a very childlike movie that a child would love,
yeah.
But I have no problem seeing that.
No, right. The idea of her growing into adulthood appeals to adults as well as children.
If it's not even specifically that, it's also
I think
like
so, yeah.
I felt childlike when I was just watching it, and I was
completely agree.
And I was like fucking 20.
The story is basically about this character Kiki who hits the age that she's allowed to leave home. Sounds a lot like Pokemon.
Although instead of 10, it's like 13 or something.
Right,
like
and she gets to go train in being a witch.
It's a bit more reasonable than 10.
Yeah. She's literally going to learn magic. The whole idea here is she's literally going out on her own, she's venturing out, she's going to settle down in a village. If you don't get the whole legitimate, like, venture into adulthood here, I think you might be partially blind. Because it's literally going to get your own house, living away from your parents. The cheap part of that is she really doesn't live away from her parents.
To be fair, I didn't get that, mostly because, again, childlike wonder.
It's so shrouded in... Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I watched that. I watch Miyazaki movies with just an expectation of wonder and imagination. I don't go in expecting deep messages or whatnot because
never caught that.
That's not the lore of these movies to me.
Well, that's what I think the appeal is in all Miyazaki movies, is most of them have that underlining adulthood message, but almost all of them get along without it.
Yeah.
Like, again, Kiki can just be a nice story about progress, about her trying to become a witch.
It's like the same thing.
But it's also the parallel.
It's like Pixar. You're able to appeal to both bases.
The one thing I will say with that story with Kiki is she leaves her mom and her father and all that with Gigi, her cat, the old man cat, and then she goes, that bothers you too?
I thought the same thing when I heard it in the dub.
Gigi! She leaves her house with the cat to go to another house with basically the same idea. It's like her boss, but it's still her mother.
Yeah,
she still takes care of her and helps.
It's my mom away from mom. Also, when she met that snobby witch along the way,
which literally does not come back.
Yep.
Like, not
I looked at that
time.
the whole time. And, that's like I said the other day. Miyazaki tends to have things that are just out there, but they never really come back.
You know, arguably that's Ma. That's just seeing another witch in this world, expanding the world, letting you breathe a moment.
Yeah.
So that'd be another good example of Ma. But again, I think that's probably one of the ones I don't like. I would have liked that character to come back. She was awesomely bitchy. But the idea of Kiki moving to this town on her own, literally with nothing except what she has, and working her way into a delivery service, hence the name Kiki's Delivery. It's a very obvious plot line. There's not anything, and in fact, there's really no villain. That's one of the ones that have completely no villain. The villain is technically adulthood. She loses her childlike nature. She can't fly. She can't talk to her cat.
Yep.
All of that's gone, so technically the villain here is literally growing up. Overall, I just think that this one it's at number 5 because it's definitely not his best, but I think it is definitely underrated.
It's not his best, but
I do think it's underrated.
It's by no means a bad movie.
I wouldn't even consider it one of his worst. I would consider stuff like for example, Ponyo. I'd even have to say, and I know I'm going to get shit for this.
Miyazaki?
Well, I'm saying Ghibli we're talking about in top 5.
Ghibli. Touche, yeah.
But, yeah, stuff like Ponyo, and I think it actually might have still been Miyazaki at that point. That might have been one of his last ones. But, Ponyo is one of them that I put at the bottom. I know I'm gonna get shit for this. Totoro is a fun... I think Totoro is like 90% Ma, if I remember correctly. Now let's move on to number 4. Number 4 is going to be Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, and if we pronounce it like they do in the movie, Nausicaa!
Nausicaa.
Nausicaa! Of the Valley of the Wind. Yeah, that's how he says it in Japanese.
Okay, that's how it's gonna be, Nausicaa.
This isn't one of my... I would say this is 4th... This is exactly how I would place this one. Like I think Kiki's right under it. I think this one's right above Kiki, right below some of the more important and meaty ones.
And one movie and a long line of nature messages.
I was just about to say, and big surprise here, and environmentalist film.
It's all environmentalist, but with a twist. Like this one's just environmentalist. Then you have Mononoke.
This one is the most flat. Yes, environmentalist.
No. This is
message.
like environmentalist with a post-apocalyptic twist.
Oh no, yeah.
Mononoke, environmentalist with a Lord of the Rings epic twist.
Yeah, each one of his movies is an environmental movie, and I think that this one is the most plain environmental movie. You say it's attached to the end of the world, but it's literally just because, like, it's not like it's an end of the world movie. It's an environmental movie that hits home because the world ended due to us polluting it.
Yeah.
So it's like I just feel like this is
post-apocalyptic.
I feel like this is one of the more straight line movies that he's done. It also brings up some of the more fun theories we can have. I just need to mention this. I feel like Princess Mononoke came before this movie, and it's like the same timeline, where nature is retaliating, they destroy the ironworks, we are on top as humans. End of that movie, kind of evens the ground, and then by some miracle, we miss some time, in this time some shit happens, nature takes over, and then we get Nausicaa.
What is Dark Souls, where it's separated by an unspecified amount of time?
I mean, it would have to, because there has to be a time where nature takes over humanity, but the fact that the chick in the gold armor, I am terrible with names in Nausicaa for some reason.
I'm terrible with names in all of these.
That's the thing, is I'm normally good with them, but for some reason Nausicaa always, I can't catch the names.
Name I remember is Ashitaka for whatever reason.
So that chick in the gold armor, as I was trying to say, just she'll literally pop up at the beginning of the movie, and she says this one line that, we're going to take dominance again, implying so they were dominant, there was a time where nature took over, and now they're trying to regain dominance. That just matches up perfectly with the ironworks being destroyed. They have nothing at the end of Mononoke. Nature's still okay, the deer god is saved. Like, everything about it, it links up perfectly, and I think that's genuinely fun theory to have. Now on to the actual movie itself. As I said, there's really not much else aside from the actual message of environmental. Don't destroy the planet. There's really not much else to add about that movie, and I argue that's why it's at number 4. Of course, there are underlining things about it, but those are all things you should genuinely go watch for yourself. The main thing that I want you to take away is, it is indeed, it's Miyazaki's version of a troll in Central Park, or fucking, or whatever environmental movie you can think of. It's literally that fucking, what was it, with the little pixie? God damn it, what was it? How am I forgetting this movie? Fern Gully! It's Hayao Miyazaki's Fern Gully. That doesn't mean there's not war, that doesn't mean there's not conflict between man versus man. And that's the thing, the reason this is number 4 is because this is a well-written movie. Man versus self, man versus nature, man versus man, all of it's present here. First 10 minutes of that movie are super boring.
Yeah.
Then that giant creature starts moving, and then you're like, okay, there's something here, I get it. Then it stops moving and it gets real boring again for like 15 to 20 minutes, then it picks up again. That, I think, is the ultimate flaw with Nausicaa.
Yeah.
It ebbs and flows, and the Ma isn't exactly tied in as neatly as it can be.
It was one of the earlier Miyazaki works, and it shows.
Right.
But simply, he was cutting his teeth.
And again, the fact that we put it above Kiki should show you. It's a genuinely well-made movie. Just have to point out flaws with it. Those big action moments of the giant creature, or the giant scale air battles that we get, awesome. The hang glider itself, one of the most iconic pieces I've seen drawn. I love that. Nausicaa's hang glider thing. I love that. Also, I can't believe I almost forgot. I cannot, like, have a review for this movie without mentioning Yuta.
Okay.
The fucking awesome guard that she always has, who does literally everything. And at one point, she's about to kill a guard from, like, the kingdom, and he takes it in the fucking arm. Because he's a fucking champion. Move on to number 3. I just didn't want to get shortchanged.
Number 3.
Grave of the Fireflies. You want to start on this one, go for it. Because, I'm crying behind my glasses right now.
This movie is not directed by Miyazaki, and it very clearly shows in the direction it goes in. Mm-hmm. I found this movie very relatable.
Yeah, in a very disgusting way, yeah.
And in a way, the director, what was his name? Isao.
I'm actually looking it up now to not be disrespectful. Way to bury the lead. Way to throw me under the bus. I was actually trying to be sneaky about it.
The director actually, one of his things about the movie was he wanted to inspire sympathy in young people. Now, probably mostly in Japan he wanted to do that, but it worked on me.
Isao Takahata.
Yeah. It worked on me. This is, And critics like Roger frickin' Ebert agree with me. This is one of the greatest animated films of all time.
I'd argue the top 3 we have are 3 of the top greatest animated films, period.
It did not meet the success it deserved. This movie, a lot of critics and a lot of people tend to view it as an anti-war movie. The director himself says it's really not an anti-war movie. It's more a movie about a failed life
between a brother and sister. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
basically the plight and decline of
trying to live out of society's own standards and basically out of the system and
going off the grid.
Yeah, and it just shows that they try to, and just everyone else is beating them down. Everything's literally against them doing this.
In a weird way, it basically shows you that if you don't want to pay the cost of a house, you're going to pay it in the cost of pride.
Yeah.
If you're not paying money, you're literally paying with your sister's life.
And the reason why he shows that too is he's a known critic of his own culture, and its main flaw being that it's about putting society before the individual.
The actual movie, the actual flow of this movie is geniusly, there's one through line, it feels like it's flowing together like all Miyazaki movies. There is Ma, despite not being a Miyazaki movie. I meant to say Ghibli. That's going to happen a lot. I apologize right now for it.
Because most of the list is...
Because we're so used to saying Miyazaki for these. But, yeah, you have the brother and the sister. The brother having this conflict with his aunt because the mother died, the father's at war. When you find out later the father's dead, is a punch in the heart.
Well, you don't find that out until after they're over.
It's much later. It's much later.
But with the aunt, it's like, it's fine at first.
Yeah.
With the aunt, it's fine to live there at first, but it's like, he doesn't do anything to help out with the war effort. So she starts treating him lesser and lesser.
There's so many, and there's so many things to touch on that from. Because on one hand, you have the fact that he's a young man, so why would he be putting this much effort? On the other hand, it is the Japan mentality to work and put forth, you know what I'm saying? Then on the other hand, like on the Japan side, again, adding another layer, it's wartime. You need help. It is the absolute requirement at this point. But on the other hand, he could arguably have some sort of deficiency or something. We don't really know. Like, there's so many variables in this scenario that it's not just clear cut. That's why I also think it's really hard to pinpoint a villain in this. Brother and sister-wise, in this movie, their relationship is heartbreaking.
No, yeah.
Very close, fucking, it rips your fucking heart out. Like, spoiler alert, she fucking dies, and it's just the biggest fucking punch.
I was going to point out the
decline is slow and painful for you to watch, as well as, I'm sure, for her.
Probably the one aspect I didn't really find relatable was the sibling aspect, because I have siblings, and I fucking hate them. I don't want to do things the way they want me to. I want to do things my way, and that's the most relatable thing to me.
No,
it's just when your way doesn't work, and it's just that feeling of failure.
Aside from that, let's touch more on the aunt relationship as well.
Yeah, and that was another one that hit me. It's just like, she's not wrong.
Again, I feel like this is we have to split this up.
Walter. It's Walter. You're not wrong, Walter. You're just an asshole.
Yeah.
And but to be fair,
how quick she is to let them go is what really bothers me, and we talk about this all the time.
It's not even a matter of the.
I mean, she has to let them go. She can't afford them.
Yeah, and you also have a certain line of just not giving a shit anymore.
No, that's look at the time. It all makes sense.
It's very clear as
but
the time goes on.
You're still a prick for doing it.
It's very clear as the time goes on that she's getting more and more sick that they don't do anything
to
help out. And it's just like,
but my point is, I don't think that should equate to you saying, "Oh, you little boy and little girl that my dead sister I took you on for. All right, bye. Go die in the woods. I'm not gonna check that you have a house. I'm not gonna and none of that."
Again, it's not an anti-war movie.
Now that's something I want to get into. The misconception that it's an anti-war movie is completely unwarranted.
Yeah.
The first 10 to 15 minutes have horrors of war.
Yeah.
The mother, the way she dies, and you see the bandages and that blood. Horrifying image. The bombs dropping. Horrifying to see. You see the hustle and bustle of war here. But it's only the first 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
And the rest of the movie is spent on the struggle.
And then occasionally dodging.
Caused by the war.
Yeah, and occasionally dodging.
So again, I see how you're saying, like, this could be an anti-war film. Like, oh, because of the war, these kids went through this.
And
It's not the point. You're missing the point. The war is the setting. Like, as we've touched upon the decline of the sister's health, but, like, when you first see that rash happen, like, it's literally from that moment on, you're like, oh, God.
It wasn't the rash that got me, because you can get a fucking rash from fucking anything. But where it really began to hit me was when she said she's having diarrhea. Diarrhea is not something you do unless you're sick in some way. And specifically in that time period in war, that's not a good sign.
You actually set that up perfectly for me. That's what I mean. The rash is literally in the pit of my stomach. I was like, oh, I get what they're doing now. This is going to be the slow decline of health.
Yeah.
The rash is the start, and then it's literally, I'd argue, like, not the catalyst, but you know what I mean? It's the beginning, and then everything just starts going worse and worse. The actual sweetie drop point, where they're walking, and he, like, turns it over in her hand, and there's those three, they're, like, the blue, the red, and the whatever, stuck together, as those candies do. So, nice, realistic moment. But you have that drop in her hand, and you have, like, the crumbs of them drop in her hand. I know they're not crumbs, the little chips of them. And she's looking at it in her hand, and she realizes this is, the last one she's going to be able to eat.
Yeah.
And it's just literally... And you see her eat the crumbs rather than the large one. Yeah. And there's just something about that scene that will always fucking stick with me.
The sister, the movie shows that she's not stupid. She's a child, but she's not stupid.
You might, let me just finish my other, because I had the two that I wanted to bring up, that was the one. You might just have ruined my other one. I just realized what you're about to say, I think. And then the other one I want to bring up is when the sister legitimately looks at the brother and says, I know about Mom. Yeah. Is that what you were about to bring up?
Mom's dead. Aunt told me.
Yeah.
Oba-san told me.
That was the most profound moment for me. That was literally... He starts crying. Because it's literally the moment of, now I can finally grieve my mother.
Yeah.
I don't have to be strong for my fucking sister anymore. Moving to...
We talked a lot about that one.
Moving to number 2.
And the complete inverse of Nausicaa.
We don't know how to do this one. We're gonna be honest.
2 and 1.
We both think that 2 and 1 belongs to a specific movie, but we can't agree on the movie, so let's take the cap off of something and flip it. The number 1 for this, number 2 for this, rather, I should say, is going to be, technically both, is going to be decided by technically a coin flip. If I win, it's going to be Spirited Away, which I personally find to be the best.
Tails.
Yeah.
How are we determining that?
And you are, well, you call up or down, and if it's up, this is lifting up, and if it's down, it'll be down. Okay. But he's going to fight for Princess Mononoke, I'm fighting for Spirited Away here. So what do you call? And you can call it since I'm flipping. You want it up or down?
Up.
So number 2 is my favorite.
Didn't have to shoot you.
Number 2 is my personal favorite, and that's Spirited Away. And I'm okay with this, because I think the top 2 will always be interchangeably Mononoke and Spirited Away. You're talking to non-critics, I frequently see Totoro as number 1, but if you're talking to someone who's trying to objectively rank, I normally see Spirited Away, Mononoke being the top 2. In this case, number 2 will be Spirited Away. This movie, as a kid, I fell in love with this movie for visuals only. The basic story, fine, but pretty much only visuals. If you want to fall in love with it for just visuals, easily doable.
Very pretty and very well animated.
Easily doable. I'd say one of the cleanest of his movies, and easily you can honestly see it's the first transition into like stuff like Ponyo and stuff like that from your old school animation. Very clean, very rounded. Now,
very detailed too.
Also, aside from that, you have this layer of, okay, well, the story there of her growing up without her parents, as I mentioned, that whole parallel earlier in the review, there's that. Then there's also the layer of, which is my favorite, new school Japan and old school Japan. The people from the city versus the actual mentality. World. Right, the spirit world is old school Japan. It's before reform. The family coming from the big city, who's moving to this more old school area, is very clearly new school. They come in, they just start eating people's food.
They're very clearly city folk.
Right, and they're to old school Japan, they're very rude. They just start eating food. There's this underlining message of the butting of heads between mentalities in Japan.
Also, the power behind a name.
No, yeah.
Which, believe it or not,
she almost forgets her name.
It's actually something I think I learned about in Bleach.
Are you talking about...
Japan likes to emphasize the power of a name and things.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if you were saying that, or people literally grow into, despite what they're named, they'll grow into specific set patterns.
No, but it's specifically that if you have a name, you have power, and without your name, you have nothing.
Powerless. No, right. I see what you're saying.
That's a point that Haku makes.
Again, now let's get into the actual characters in this. I love Chihiro. I love Haku. I love the witches. Arguably, I should say witch, because the other one really isn't in it for much. Just the characters, No Face, iconic. There are so many things about this movie, and this movie, in my opinion, this is just opinion. I'm not looking at this objectively. Setting that up now. It is, without a doubt, the best use of Ma. Without a doubt. Yeah. If I actually wanted to make that non-objective, I'd have to watch all the movies again.
No Face alone defines that.
Ma? Yeah,
because
100%.
Like, the whole time you've seen him, it's just like, just nothing. He's just...
him sitting next
calmness,
to...
And then
almost timid.
Then when he gets angry, shit happens.
Plot moves forward. Yeah, exactly. The train scene of Chihiro, I mentioned it before, sitting next to No Face, and they're going to the witch's sister's house. That is the most iconic shot from the movie. It's 100% Ma. 100% Ma. These moments, like, for example, Chihiro and No Face in the baths, in the onsens, you have the boiler room guy, and in between them, for example, her running down the stairs to the boiler room guy. Ma. Her slamming into the wall. Remember the full speed run, which for some reason I'll always have in my head as a kid. That scene always stuck with me, and I don't know why. Yeah. Not even a very... you know what? It probably is, because it's her pushing herself into actually doing something.
Also,
through the fear.
What always sticks in my head from this movie is the shit monster. The shit spirit, as I like to call it.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't. They were calling it stink spirit.
Stink spirit, that's what I
like. This is so clearly a massive shit.
We mentioned the artwork, but the actual animation itself, the way you see faces actually react to things, are fucking uncanny. Yeah. You are absolutely right on that.
Yeah, especially when the shit thing walked through, and you just see her hair on end, standing up on end because of the smell.
One of my favorite moments, again, I don't know why I love it so much, when she's first trying to get to the witch to get the job, and she has to hide in the elevator, and that one chick helps her.
Yeah.
And then you have the giant guy who you're like, oh fuck, the entire time, and then he just...
The rice thing or whatever?
Go ahead. You're good. For the sake of time, I could honestly talk about Spirited Away legitimately all day. Let's move on to number 1, Princess Mononoke. Princess Mononoke, the reason why I will always put this one as is... In fact, I don't even know if I could say it's 1 and 2 with Spirited Away. I'd say 1 and 1. I genuinely think these are 2 of the best animated movies, 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, in my opinion.
What is Mononoke's rating stood at? Like 8?
I think 90-something?
Yeah.
I want to say it's probably 9.
I think
maybe a little less.
I think 90-something is a little low.
Mononoke is a special version of the message of environmentalism because it's literally environmentalism biting back.
Yeah.
Literally, this is not just, hey, let's fuck Mother Earth and, oh, the world will end. No, this is let's fuck Mother Earth and she'll pull her dick out.
The message of environmentalism in this movie is very spiritual, much more spiritual than any other Miyazaki's movies.
I think that's, yeah.
It's part of the appeal to me since I love fucking fantasy so much.
Me too. The whole idea of, like, gods of specific nature in the forest,
deer
gods.
That was so inherent of Shinto.
Really, I really liked that.
So inherent. Shinto has, what, like thousands of fucking gods?
And it's just sort of refreshing, because you don't really see that a lot in his other movies. It's not like, oh, meet the god of the forest. Oh, meet... To see, like, this creature is, like, this jelly-like material, and it's like, this is really cool.
This, like, elk, gazelle thing.
Well, it turns into that with, like, a human red face.
Yeah. Very, very strange. Typical Miyazaki-directed movie with some strange-looking shit. This entire story kicks off because Ashitaka just wants to cure the poison.
Yeah?
That he has.
I like that it just starts off with that broad before you get to that. I like that it starts off with that broad stroke and then it really gets more and more detailed. Yeah. But yeah, go ahead.
That opening sequence of this movie is why a lot of people compare Zelda Breath of the Wild to this movie. I just want to go and say one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite Miyazaki films is because he steps out of that comfort zone of a just female protagonist approach.
Steps out of mode.
And has specifically 2 main protagonists that we're following here, and their love interests, which I don't typically see.
I'd also go out and argue that it's
both
not
capable.
overt love interest. It's literally he cares for all life, he doesn't want to see her die, and that leads her to actually like him as a human, which she shouldn't because she's not human, she's also, wolf.
Yeah, but that's what leads to the romantic. He's basically intrigued. It's like... This is literally
Romeo and Juliet, isn't it? Except they don't die in the end. I'd also think you're shortcutting Yakul. His little antelope, who's totally a main character. Yeah. Do not deny me this!
Seeing those wolf heads just...
Speak,
That's so weird, but then crawl around and attack things. It's like, dude, those are heads.
Yeah.
That was disturbing.
You know what fucked me up more? Is the pig ones. Later on when you see the boars, and then they reveal that they're humans inside of them. Yeah. Hiding inside of boar heads, and it's like... Okay, we've gotten to a new level of fucked up to try to fuck the god.
That was like Trojan horsing.
Yeah!
They were using the dead skins.
I hate you for making that work so well.
And because he was going crazy, he thought that it was his dead warriors returning to him.
No, Otoko. I do want to mention, I just have to say, fuck you, Otoko.
That's what the main antagonist of the movie is someone who isn't a witting antagonist. She thinks she's doing right.
That's the awkward part for me, and I don't mean in a negative way, I mean in a positive way. I mean, this is the weirdest way I could have worded that.
She only learns she's not after the fact.
I genuinely think that this movie is one of the ones that have multiple situational antagonists. There's no overarching antagonist. Eboshi is sort of on our main character's side. She likes the guy, there's that one spat where he has to knock her out, where her and... The real conflict here lies between two other characters, not the main character and... You know what I'm saying?
He's just trying to stop all the conflict.
He's trying to help literally everybody, exactly. I think she's slightly misunderstood to certain degrees, because she does have this moment of just, yeah, this is fucking stupid, whereas the old guy, who's teamed with her...
and a war.
Is completely just, yeah, I guess I'll give up. You learned nothing. You fucking learned nothing. I like that they foreshadow him too, because earlier in the movie they actually try to trick you and he starts giving like this advice to our main character and you're like, okay, cool. This guy's like someone who will pop up, I'll help him for a little bit, maybe he'll disappear, maybe he'll come back, maybe he won't. He comes back and he winds up being one of the main villains and they foreshadow him being greedy by eating shit tons of this other person's rice.
The movie also showed leprosy.
Yeah, disease and fucking disability is a major thing in this movie. Not even just leprosy, in general disability.
Yeah.
You have multiple times where like, oh, my arm is fucked, disability.
Yeah, she gets her arm bitten off, Ashtaka
that was awesome. That is one of the coolest things ever, where it fucking drives by and then you're like, oh shit, the wolf got revenge, and then it's, no, the wolf is just actually a nice fucking guy. It ate the possessed arm.
Yeah.
Holy shit, this is an amazing full circle moment for the wolf. Seeing the wolves talk are awkward as shit. I don't care how old I get. That will always be awkward. Like when fucking Ashitaki walks out and it's literally he's just laying on top of the
telepathic.
He's like talking on top of the cave. He's laying down. You need to go away from my daughter. You don't fuck my daughter. It's like, why are we having this conversation with a wolf? Moving off our main protagonist and going to San for a little bit.
Our other main protagonist.
Right. Doesn't appear for 45 minutes into the movie, but it's funny because I genuinely think she still is like... The movie's clearly named after her. It's not like named Princess San, but I think it's in reference to her.
It's reference to her. She's the fucking box art in the posters.
Right.
Except in the U.S.
Really?
It's in the West, it's Ashitaka. Appropriately so, but it's just like, why can't you put both of them on the fucking...
That seems weird to me.
Both are main protagonists.
Yeah, what the hell?
She's an unwilling main protagonist.
My point is, though, like, she is literally still the main focus despite not being there. Like, not at the beginning, but when we first meet her, for that first moment where you see her talking to the wolves, she helps the wolf that got stabbed, and then she disappears.
Yeah.
From then on, she's the focus of our main character.
Yeah.
She's what our main character is looking for. He's going out of her way to try and help her or find her. Hence, that's why it's named that way. It still works. I also want to point out the visuals in this movie are gorgeous. This is the best fight scene in any Miyazaki movie, Lady Eboshi versus San.
I love that fight.
That fight is gorgeous.
She's just quick and vicious, and then Eboshi she's defensive. She knows how to react to that.
Well, she's also hot-blooded because she's trying to defend her village. Yeah, defensive is probably the best word.
She knows that San is hot-headed, and she baits her into things.
She thinks, that's the thing, is this movie does a phenomenal job of showing the fear that wolves cause. So the fear is literally blinding them from even having a conversation.
The fear that giant wolves cause.
The fucking monkeys, they just popped into my head right now.
Oh, yeah.
The fucking apes that really don't matter.
And the weird little spirit things.
Those are Ma.
Wandering around.
Those, I don't know why those were not turned into toys. Like little...
Those should be a pop.
But like ones that crack when you spin the neck, because that's literally the whole point. Yeah. Anything else I really want to say about this?
Main and female antagonist, technically. Is that a common thing?
It's both. Again, it's the old guy and her together, so you have a male and a female. This is
really just her.
Wow, I have to bring this up.
Well, just her officer, really.
Really got to bring this up. No, the old guy joins her as the main villain and pushes her. The bald one from earlier in the movie who eats the rice.
Oh, like the merchant?
Yeah, he literally joins teams with her, and he becomes like the main bad guy out of the two.
Yeah. He's a dick.
If we missed anything, which we probably did, because all of these movies that we've listed, plus the ones that we didn't, are filled with so much. They are brimming with so many ideas and morals and messages and just beauty, even if it's useless, and as I said, and it's, well, to you, useless, it has a purpose. But wind down moments, like, there's so many of them that you'd think, ugh, but no, he managed to pull all of these movies fucking together and make gorgeous masterpieces of cinema, not just animation, cinema. This man is a fucking genius, or I should say these men. Put it this way, the worst of a normal director is a root canal. The worst of Studio Ghibli is... Now I'm gonna go buy you an ice cream cone. So yeah, that's pretty much all we have for this week. If you can, like and subscribe, comment below. We really, again, the point of this channel is conversation. If you don't subscribe or like, if you have to do one of them, I'd say comment. I'd really like to have some conversation about this stuff. And,
I'd say fuck yourself, eat a bag of dicks.
Okay, yeah, and,
I fear success!